Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chillaxing and Chit-Chatting podcast once again. I am your host, Miguel Whittle. Um, and for those of you who are new here, welcome. And if you are new to this podcast, I'll provide a little bit of backstory behind this episode. So previously, I did an episode in which I did my full-blown first reaction to the episode of The Star Beast, which was the Doctor Who episode that was the first of the 60th anniversary specials. And I recorded it on the 2nd of December, which was before Wild Blue Yonder was going to air in a couple of hours later on. And for this, I'm doing my Wild Blue Yonder reaction. Now, you'll notice, of course, on the video that it was recorded. And for those who haven't, it was recorded. This episode has indeed been recorded on the 17th of December. So both the start Wild Blue Yonder as well as the next special, The Giggle, has aired, and I have seen both episodes. However, some of you might be wondering, well, then you won't be surprised by The Giggle or anything. Well, that's fine. And I think the thing is, Russell T Davies, who has written the free specials, has said this about the free specials, that they are very much standalone, and he is right in that. One thing you'll notice, one thing I've mentioned before as well, and I'll share the screen, is that the free 60th anniversary specials have had all got target novelizations coming along. I think they've got the ebooks all being released now, which is like the electronic digital versions of the books. And then as for the paperbacks, they get released about a year or so. Get released not a year or so later. It's about January they get released, mid-January, just before it hits to like the 15th. I think it's like the 11th of January they get released in paperback on, or at least it says that on Amazon. And you can see here the free novelizations, if you're viewing this through the video, that The Star Beast has one by Gary Russell, and then Mark Morris is writing The Wild Blue Yonder, which is the episode I'm going to talk about today. And then, of course, The Giggle, the third episode, being written by James Goss. Now, the thing is, these three specials are very much standalone, and they very much have their own sort of story and narrative to go along. So I think it's not too much of a problem, really, to watch these in any order, as Russell has said, and also to just go ahead and react to these three episodes individually, even when I've seen The Giggle after Wild Blue Yonder, because Wild Blue Yonder is very much its own thing. The only connections they have sometimes is the ending, where Star Beast ending has a cliffhanger to Wild Blue Yonder, and then Wild Blue Yonder has an ending that is going to hint towards The Giggle. I won't say, well, obviously, what those episodes' endings are, but I will spoil the Wild Blue Yonder. But it's just the Wild Blue Yonder, I think, because being that the Star Beast, some people may have not seen the Star Beast and may be watching Wild Blue Yonder. I'll go ahead and just spoil Wild Blue Yonder for you. But before I actually spoil Wild Blue Yonder, I will do this first bit on Wild Blue Yonder, talking about it in a spoiler-free section. So I also share that so we have the Wild Blue Yonder. So while sharing Wild Blue Yonder, I want to also mention the poster. I want to show the poster of it because it looks quite cool. Because I think I showed the poster of the Star Beast poster, because the poster of the Star Beast was based on the original comic book art of the Star Beast, which is pretty cool. And as you can see here, this is the poster for Wild Blue Yonder. This is what the poster is. And Wild Blue Yonder was exciting for me. It was an episode that I think was exciting to a lot of Doctor Who fans as well, because it was an episode that had not been revealed much, because it was an episode mostly filmed, I believe, in the studio. So most of the episode was just filmed within a studio. It was not really filmed on location. And as well as that, most of the footage had not been seen or shown for what Wild Blue Yonder was going to be about. So it's an episode that caused a lot of excitement from people, and it's one that most people were excited for out of the free specials. In terms of the free specials, this was the one that got a lot of people excited because, well, it was an episode that I think was, very much not being revealed by anyone, and it was hyped up quite a bit by the Russell T Davies and I think David Tennant mentioning it was pretty scary. So it was very interesting to see what this episode would be. And it also airing on the 2nd of December, a day before my birthday, and also on my birthday weekend, was pretty darn cool. And I should also mention that what I'm wearing actually is, well, firstly, underneath this costume I'm putting on. I'll explain what the costume is. I have put on a Dalek t-shirt, which has which is based on the episode Victory of the Daleks, where you got the Ironside Dalek, and it says to victory on here, which you can see here, which is pretty cool. It says to victory on there as well. Very nice. And I've put on here this costume which I got recently, which I'm going to be wearing for a little party, a Doctor Who costume for the 10th Doctor's costume, which I ordered on eBay. And the cool thing is I managed to get both the suit and the coat, which was really, really cool. I personally really was happy with the result of this. It's got the pinstripe, brown pinstripe look of it. And obviously, David Tennant's not playing the 10th Doctor in the 60th anniversary special. He's playing the 14th Doctor. But, I thought it'd be nice to wear this anyways. And got the coat on, the suit and everything. So, very nice. Very cool. But so yeah, I thought I'd wear this for whilst I'm sharing my thoughts on the episode. And talking about the Wild Blue Yonder, as I said, it was an episode that got a lot of anticipation. Most Doctor fans were excited for it, and as I said, it was on being aired on my birthday weekend, so it was pretty cool to see that Doctor Who episode. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty happy that this episode was the one that would air on my birthday weekend because this was an episode that I had expectations for, and my expectations were very much what I wanted. And it's not in terms of I'm expecting a really good episode, which, you always hope for, but it's more in the case of what I hoped the episode was going to be around, what the episode would be about. And I think what I'll say about this, without giving anything away, is my expectations for this and my hopes wouldn't be what many other fans would think in terms of it would be a number of cameos, a number of famous Doctor Who actors, or perhaps a past Doctor makes a sudden appearance. That was kind of what some fans were expecting because of how secret it was. But I kind of didn't want that. I personally wanted an episode that, as it looks from, the book as well as the poster here, that it was just mostly a character study, a 2-1 study with just mostly David Tennant and Catherine Tate being the main sort of people and most of the only people involved in the episode. And that's kind of what I get. It's an episode that mostly centers on these two individuals. That's a great little clip that they showed actually before the episode aired, where it's at the opening and Donna's a bit scared, and the Doctor kisses the hand of Donna and says, to reassures her, which is really nice, and I think shows that more kinder soul that I mentioned in the Star Beast, with the personality difference of the 10th Doctor compared to 14. What's different about this Doctor compared to number 10. But the episode, as I said, it's an episode that I personally overall enjoyed. I think I enjoyed it more than the Star Beast. I think if the Star Beast was a 6 or a 7 out of 10, this is more a case of a 7 to an 8 out of 10. This was a great, enjoyable episode that I personally really had a good time with. And it was an episode that, as I said, it fulfilled my expectations of mostly centering on these two characters and these two actors just shining in terms of their talents as actors. And they really did, I think, a good job. David Tennant and Catherine Tate were really terrific in this episode. And the episode is very interesting. I won't give away too much, but basically the episode will take place within basically a spaceship. That's at the start of the episode. So it takes place within a spaceship, and the mystery surrounding the spaceship and everything and what's going on and everything, that's all left up to you to figure out and watch the episode. But I'll say that it's an episode that, for me anyways, hopefully that I didn't show too much of that. I went down a bit and it was like, oh, little spoiler there, because I don't want to spoil anything, because it's an episode that I really enjoyed. This bit is fine. This area is fine because there's nothing really too much being spoiled. You'll also notice that on the poster of the episode there's a little robot here, which I think is called Jimbo. I won't say about what Jimbo's like, but it is quite nice. And as you'll notice, the production design is really cool as well, with the spaceship design in this as well. It's really terrific as well with the spaceship design. And the target novelization didn't give much away, yeah, but the only thing that I think was different, that kind of was revealing about the novelization, was the forklift sort of vehicle there. I won't say much about that, but that's just something within the spaceship. And the center and the mystery surrounding it is part of what made the episode really intriguing. And also just what the episode is about is really exciting. I won't say too much and I won't give away too much. And I won't reveal too much in terms of what episodes it's similar to. But if I was to describe it, I would just say it has that psychological aspect of Midnight. If you like Midnight in terms of the location mainly being one location, it's a small cast of characters and it has a psychological aspect to it that I think is what really works about it. And I think that's where the scare factor comes in. And each special, I think, and I won't give away obviously too much surrounding it, but each special has their own kind of theme and identity surrounding it. So that's what I think is quite nice about the 60th anniversary specials. And without giving anything away, each special represents a type of Doctor Who episode. And this one is more of the experimental, much more psychological aspect towards Doctor Who that, Doctor Who can do. And it also goes and examines the character, mainly obviously of 14, the Doctor specifically, and Donna. And it's really terrific. And yeah, I'll definitely be rewatching the 60th anniversary specials to get an overall thought. But personally, I had a good time with this episode. This was one that I definitely enjoyed, and I think most fans seem to have enjoyed it. It was a definite highlight for me. I personally thought that I think Rusty Davis did a good job in basically writing this very interesting episode that I thought was very unique. It was very it was unique, it stood out whilst also being similar to other episodes. Some fans kind of predicted an episode, what rather a Big Finish audio that had a similar comparison to it. But I think even if I haven't listened to the Big Finish audio it's being compared to, but even if I did, I think for me I would probably go ahead and I probably would still find differences behind it. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I think actually the target novelization I'm interested in because I don't know how much will be more further revealed or what else is going to be revealed in the target novelization and what's going to be expanded surrounding it. But it's an episode that I personally would highly recommend. I personally enjoyed it quite a bit. And yeah, for me, I just was glad that it was an episode that overall just was one that would be shown on my birthday weekend. I was happy with it. And as I said, the acting was terrific from both David Tennant and Catherine Tate. But I won't give away too much. And the thing is, I think that's as far as I can get, because if I kept going on and on, I would probably repeat and go back full circle. So I think that's overall what I'll say. As I said, it's like a 7 to an 8 out of 10. It's an episode that I really enjoyed, and I personally think was better than the Star Beast. The Star Beast was familiar ground. Oh, my mic is going down. The Star Beast was familiar ground. This was more a case of something different and maybe something new towards Doctor Who that would be a bit more different, not what you typically expect in Doctor Who or not what you often see. And I think that made it really refreshing to watch and also made it very exciting to watch, especially with obviously it not being shown much in terms of the plot synopsis and the filming not being shown much. So it made it all the more exciting when you saw what the episode would be about in the end. And also the Doctor Unleashed once again was really nice as well when you saw how they made the episode, because it was really awesome to see it, because the spaceship was designed by, I believe, someone who's worked on big budgeted work such as Guardians of the Galaxy, and he definitely did a great job. I don't know who the guy's name is, but he did a great job with the production in terms of how it was made, and it just looked really terrific. Like the Star Beast, which also looks pretty darn good as well. This also was looking great as well in terms of the design of the spaceship that gets used in the episode. So I overall had a good time with it, and as I said, the acting was terrific as well. And it's an episode that definitely will really intrigue you. I don't know if as an adult you'll be scared by it, because Doctor Who can't really get too scary towards adults, but I think you might be creeped out by what goes on in the episode. So I would say, yeah, go ahead and enjoy it. If you thought the Star Beast was pretty solid, but you maybe thought it wasn't interesting, or perhaps maybe you didn't find it as intriguing as it could have been for a 60th anniversary special, I think the Wild Blue Yonder will hopefully give you more of a taste of what you want, and hopefully you should enjoy it more than the previous episode. So I think that's my overall spoiler-free thoughts on the episode, because I've got a lot to say and I want to be able to write say as much as I can within the hour of the Wild Blue Yonder in the spoiler section. So I'll do a little countdown so you can leave. But I hope you enjoyed the episode as well. And you can also check out my episode of the Star Beast if you haven't already. And if yeah, you can take a look and see my overall thoughts on the episode. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little reaction towards Wild Blue Yonder. But I'm going to go ahead and now be doing a spoiler section. So if you don't want to be spoiled by the Wild Blue Yonder, uh, go ahead and turn off the podcast and eventually come back once you've watched it. But for everyone else, I'm going to go ahead and do a countdown, and eventually then I'll get to spoilers. Five, four, three, two, one. Okay. Spoiler time for Wild Blue Yonder. So Wild Blue Yonder was an episode that, as I said, had a psychological aspect to Midnight. It reminds me of that. But another comparison I would say would be to do with the would be the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, because that's an episode which involves an unknown threat. In this case, the beast and the devil. And by the end of it, the Doctor is still unsure as to what it is. And that's what happens when you get these creatures, which I thankfully didn't reveal hopefully too much about who these creatures are. But these are the not things, which are, I think that's what they're called as well. At least that's what TARDIS Wiki will say. The not things, which are these freakish monster little creatures that I think they get revealed slowly. But I remember I was watching this with my parents, and we were watching the episode, and one thing I noticed was the editing choice of the Doctor, Donna. The Doctor enters to see Donna. The Donna comes in to see the Doctor, and then they're still working as well. And so I was just watching that thinking, and it took me a while to notice it until I think when my dad or something picked up, that's a bit odd. They're in two different rooms, and yet one of them is also entering another person's like area, the room in the spaceship. And then so you have like Donna coming in to see the Doctor, but then Donna's working at some point on the spaceship as well. And then the Doctor comes in to see Donna, but Doctor's obviously working. So it was a weird editing choice, I thought at first. But then it was revealed that, of course, these are creatures that are look like the Doctor and Donna and start to become more and more like them. They have features that stop them from being completely like them, such as, for instance, they had too big and their arms were too big. I remember the hands bit was pretty cool. It was especially cool when you saw it on Doctor Who Unleashed when they revealed how they got made, which is pretty cool. Um, the hands were being made. That was really cool seeing that. Before the episode, actually, before the main plot, you also might remember as well that there was a bit here where Isaac Newton met the Doctor and Donna, which was a fun little bit there. And I think I picked up the latest Doctor magazine, and apparently there's a little comic area, which a little comic book where you have like the 14th Doctor and Donna basically just traveling about, because basically you just have the Doctor and Donna constantly moving to different places in time and space, and then they meet different people. That's in the comic book, anyways, which kind of expands on this, which I thought that's kind of funny, and I'll have to give that a read to see how it is. Um, but the production, as I said, was really terrific. And also the not the I can't remember what they're called now. It's like the not the not things. They were definitely a very interesting aspect towards the episode. And I think for me, as I said, the main thing for me was I was kind of hoping that it was just the Doctor and Donna, because they seem to be the only people shown in terms of the poster, aside from Jimbo the robot, and also the only people really being revealed within the cast, anyways, the main cast list. And I was kind of hoping it was just them, and that there wasn't just going to be cameos, because that I think was way too predictable, and also wouldn't be as interesting as what the as having like a two-hander piece between David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And thankfully, that's what I got, because the episode thankfully just was mostly involving these two, and it showcases how great David Tennant and Catherine Tate are in terms of acting abilities. Like David Tennant reassuring Donna, Catherine Tate, that he'll get her home. That's a great little bit there, and a nice little bit that's from the opening of the episode. And then as the episode carries on, it becomes very interesting, where you have David Tennant and Catherine Tate showing their acting abilities, where they're not just playing the Doctor and Donna, but the not things, which are these creatures that are trying to replicate them. And some people have made connections towards the creatures from Midnight. I don't personally maybe see them as exactly the creatures from Midnight. They're just creatures that I think can be just these creatures that are from outside of the universe, the edge of the universe, and these are just creatures that are unknown towards the Doctor. And I think that makes it all the more interesting. Now, granted, some of the visual effects here and there might have been a bit dodgy for some people, but I think for the most part, the visual effects were pretty good. And you also had some just great production, as I said, with the spaceship designs here, and also the hands, which are, they're really practical effect. That looks pretty dark, which looks really just cool to see that. And yeah, it was really cool seeing that. And I think also, as I said, that not only was the acting great from the not things from David Tennant, Catherine Tate playing the not things, but one of my favorite moments in the episode, which was an moment that I think people had seen in the trailers that I had, which I was very excited by, was the rage section in which I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of, but it was the moment where the 14th Doctor um is the Doctor gets angry at perhaps the at the well, the Doctor gets angry at the gets angry after he's had an encounter with Donna, the not thing version of Donna, where basically 14 rages at after having a confrontation with the not things, where the not things mentions the flux, and then the Doctor says, I destroyed nearly half the universe. And that was particularly interesting seeing that. And I think a lot of people appreciate that because it took the flux, because one of the criticisms that I remember Flux has had was during the finale, where it basically one particular meme that was used, I think, during Flux, when a Flux was being made, one particular meme that I saw being used about was a SpongeBob meme, where you probably have seen this before, but it's basically the "We did it, Patrick" meme, where Patrick and SpongeBob are like out in Bikini Bottom. The whole place is on fire, and then SpongeBob says, like, "We did it, Patrick. We saved the city." That's kind of what a lot of people have said about Doctor Who, Flux, where in the final episode of Flux, the Doctor has, I think the Doctor commits uh kind of like destroys the flux destroys half the universe almost, but then it's still like it's okay, it's all been saved. Now I think if I remember right, in Flux and also post Flux during the last couple of specials with the 13th Doctor, there was never really a moment in which you had the Doctor reflect on that they had to destroy half the universe at some point. They destroyed half the universe. Um, that they destroyed half the universe, sort of thing, and they kind of that the whole entire universe got destroyed, and you had and there wasn't a moment to really reflect on that in the 13th Doctor's era. But it's nice that 14 has that moment with Donna, or rather the not thing Donna, which was really interesting as it examines who the Doctor is. And then you see here, after the confrontation, the Doctor runs away, and then the Doctor cries about for a bit, and then basically just goes ahead and just slams the door. And that bit there was really terrific. And to me, that was a really fantastic bit of acting from David Tennant, as the Doctor expresses his rage towards and at the guilt that they felt towards what had happened. It was really interesting seeing that, and I thought that was a really great moment there. And also, the great thing happens with Donna. I think in terms of the best bit of acting, maybe from Donna, it's probably the moment where at the end, where the not thing Donna is thought by the Doctor to be the real Donna, and then the real Donna has just been left out in the spaceship. And that moment of panic from the Doctor was really terrific, where you have just that panic from Donna, that she's just been left out there in the spaceship. She thinks she's going to die, but thankfully isn't. And that's a really great moment of acting from Donna. And as I said, the episodes all have their different feel to it. So with Wild Blue Yonder, it's an episode that has the feel of a psychological horror. It's more of the experimental side of Doctor Who, and it's very much akin to a bottle episode, which is like a term for television where you have just a couple of characters in one location. And some bottle episodes could be really great. And Midnight, for instance, from Doctor Who is an example of a bottle episode where it's just a small location of I think like a bus, a space bus basically being used. And it's just the Doctor with a group of people, in that spaceship. You don't even see like what the monster is in Midnight. You don't see the Midnight entity. There's like one bit where I think one of the drivers says, "What's that over there?" And you and the Doctor don't see it at all. You just don't see the monster at all. So you don't really see it at all. You don't know what it is. And so you don't, it's an unknown entity. And the only way you see it visually, the Midnight entity, is mostly through the character of Sky who gets possessed by the Midnight entity. And in a way that's what happens with the Not Things, where the Not Things are mostly just seen through the Doctor and Donna, in terms of it looks like the Doctor and Donna. That's really interesting seeing that. And it's really and I think overall I had a as I said, the episode worked well for that. And there was a great two-hander performance between the Doctor and Donna. And also, of course, as well as those two characters being there, you also had the robot Jimbo, who was a fun little robot. And it was interesting that it's a robot that doesn't speak or anything, but it's a robot that has a kind of tension where it's counting down almost, where it walks closer and closer to the ship being blown up. And you see outside the spaceship driver, which turns out had died. And it's very interesting seeing what had happened and seeing that the reveal was that it's at the edge of the universe. There's no stars. It's outside of almost the universe, I believe. So it's kind of akin to like being almost outside of reality, which was really interesting in terms of the setting as well, where it's not just a spaceship, it's a spaceship that exists almost outside of reality. And it was really fascinating to watch that happen. And I also think that with the Not Things, as I said, I don't personally want to mix them with like another particular monster. I like the fact that they are this unknown force, and that by the end of it, the Doctor and Donna don't know what it is, but they're freaked out by it. And I think that psychological aspect, as well as the creepiness, like when the Not Thing Doctor, like kind of bends round and its neck goes round under the leg, sort of thing, that creepy little bit there, and also just how they psychologically are analyzing Donna and the Doctor by knowing them is particularly creepy. Seeing what happens, and it's particularly, and I think it can make it scary when you see the Doctor getting emotionally broken down in some way by this creature. I think that makes it more scary for perhaps the viewer. It's a similar thing to say Pyramids of Mars, for instance, where in that episode Sutek is like taking the Doctor, and the Doctor's in complete pain of that. That's particularly scary. And you also had just have and when you have something like, I don't know, Hyde, for instance, with the 11th Doctor saying that he's scared, when you have the Doctor being scared, I think it does work, as long as the writing works as well, especially. And I think with Wild Blue Yonder, it does work with the writing. And I'm not too sure how much they're going to expand on the Wild Blue Yonder target novelization. I think maybe you could have maybe diary entries at the start, or diary entry or journal entry of the spaceship captain, the person who was in control of the spaceship before they died and ejected themselves out of the spaceship, which was particularly dark in terms of a story, in terms of the story. But I would be interested to see that, and also maybe see a bit more about the Not Things in terms of who they are. But I don't know if I want to reveal. I don't know if I want to see too much in terms of what's being revealed, because I think that's part of what made them so enjoyable as monsters. They were this unknown entity, and it made them particularly creepy in terms of the monsters that the Doctor and Donna faced. And I think because of how it was a unique monster, it was a unique entity, and it was a unique episode, an episode that you don't often get, where it's just mostly the Doctor and companion in the location, and that's it in terms of the human characters you see. I think that made it all the more great to watch. I think that made it perhaps better than maybe the Star Beast, because the Star Beast was a fun episode, but I think that was just an enjoyable episode that had some fun little surprises here and there. But I think Wild Blue Yonder was more surprising in terms of the episode overall, in terms of what we got. And I personally enjoyed it more. I vibed with it more. I'm not sure where I'd put this in the giggle in terms of my top spot. I think the giggle, I'll share my thoughts on it, but I don't know if this is better than the giggle, but I can see why many people are still putting this as like their favorite in the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. It's the episode that, yeah, overall I think can please people the most. Most people will enjoy it because it was a unique episode. And I think for the most part, the visual effects work were pretty good. I think some effects, you can see as maybe being a bit dodgy, but I think some effects were pretty darn good. Like the hands, as I said, were good. And I think the effect of the Doctor, um the Not Thing Doctor kind of being this this the not thing doctor kind of what was it? It was the not thing doctor having its head in between sort of like the leg of the in between the legs of the in between the legs, I think it was sort of thing. Let's see if I can put this uh oh yeah, they also had sharp teeth, which kind of reminds me of what was it, the it kind of reminds me of the characters in Utopia. I forgot what they're called now, but it's the almost human, or like the evolution of humanity in Utopia, where they have those sharp teeth, and they have to show their teeth. I remember the Doctor, Martha, and Captain Jack have to show their teeth before they enter the building area, the area where the utopian humans are. Gonna go and search up the Wild Blue Yonder sort of episode. I don't know if I can find the visualization for it, but it was really interesting seeing that, and it was interesting as well seeing how they're going ahead and becoming more and more like them as well. I think that was kind of interesting seeing that, they're becoming more and more like the Doctor and Donna. That works quite well. And there's a fun little chase involving the forklift, which was pretty cool. And it's seeing it being done mostly with green screen was particularly interesting as well because you then saw on Doctor Unleashed how it was made with the visual effects, and it's great seeing the great work put into it because I think the presenter says to the guys working on the visual effects that it looks mostly all right. It looks pretty darn good, and for the most part, it looks very much, it does look very much akin to it just looks okay. It looks like very much it's ready. It's ready there to be shown, but it's not. And I think there's a good explanation that the visual effects member gives, that it's not personally ready, the visual effects. There needs to be a couple of little details to hinder it out. And I think it works because it works and it helps to make the episode it helps to showcase the detail in the visual effects. I think if that wasn't there, perhaps some of the visual effects wouldn't be particularly as good, and so the episode wouldn't particularly work as well. Because it's clear that with it being such visual heavy, the visual effects really have to work. And being that most of it does work is really darn impressive. As well as this as well, actually, because this apparently was two different locations. Isaac Newton, the actor who played Isaac Newton, was in a different location where compared to Catherine Tate and David Tennant. And it's interesting as well, actually, with Doctor Unleashed that they talked about the weather as well, because they mentioned that this was filmed in, I think, the summer of like 2022, so summer of last year. And they mentioned, and we kind of forget, it's kind of a throwback and a time capsule with the summer of last year and also the masks that people are wearing as well, because COVID's still around in some areas. That not only as well as that, but it's interesting as well that this episode was filmed as well in the summer of last year, where it was the hottest day on record in the UK. It was the hottest summer on record in the UK, and I kind of forgot about that. It's kind of crazy to think about that, really. So it's just funny as well because you have Catherine Tate and David Tennant finding ways to cool off, which was pretty funny to watch as well. And of course, talking about the episode, one thing as well is the ending, and yeah, I think it's good to talk about this because there was, of course, one thing that I think surprised me. I knew it was happening because it was leaked through filming that he was going to be there, but it still was such a great surprise when he did suddenly pop up. But basically, as I'm sure you might have seen from the episode, this, of course, was the episode to feature Bernard Cribbins returning as Wilfred Mott on screen, who had not been on screen since January of 2010. So over like 13 years since we last saw him on screen. He did play Wilfred on a Big Finish audio, I remember, from the Doctor 10th Doctor Adventures. It was called, if I remember right, uh, I can't remember what it's called now, but it was 10th Doctor Adventures Series 3. it was like the third. It was the third box set. It wasn't series three. I think it was volume three, where it was the third in a it was the third volume of audios with the Tenth Doctor. And the first volume had the Donna and the Tenth Doctor. Second volume had the Tenth Doctor and Rose, and then the third volume went back to the Tenth Doctor and Donna. And this is the audio. This is the first audio in volume three. It's called No Place, where not to give much away as well, but one thing about the audio is it does feature Bernard Cribbins as Wilfred Mott. And I listened to this, I think it was released back in 2018 or 2019. I'm not too sure when this was released actually. Okay, it was May of 2019. Okay. So 2019 of May, and it basically featured the 10th Doctor and Donna, and the first volume, the first audio, No Place, written by James Goss, had also the whole Noble family. So you had Jacqueline King as Sylvia, and then Wilfred, played by Bernard Cribbins, which is really nice. So it's cool to see that, and it's great to see that. And well, it's great to listen to, anyways. I was listening to this in it was like last year, I think it was like around when I went to Thailand, which was in 2023 summertime. And it was around the time just before Bernard passed away, sadly. And um, I got it was emotional seeing him return, especially when you got to see him react to, of course, seeing the Doctor again, especially that it was the 14th Doctor. It was really, really wonderful to see that reaction. It was just so nice to see that. And it was such a pleasant surprise to see the guy. I mean, the thing about Wilfred is he's one Doctor Who character that I don't know anyone out there who hates him. Some people might not be as much of a fan of him, but I think most people just love the guy. I love him. He's such a wonderful character, and one of the reasons why I love Donna as well, because he's such a wonderful guy. And it was great as well because one thing in the Star Beast is obviously the mention of Wilfred. And at first, the Doctor and the audience might think he's died, but then it turns out he's just in like a retirement home where I think it's Kate Stewart from Unit is taking care of him, and here he is in the wheelchair. And I saw this before, I remember, on a set, I think it was. So Bernard was like, it was leaked that he was going to be there. He was leaked on set, if I remember. I'm trying to see if I could find it as well. Uh, it was leaked on set that he was there. Yeah, this was the image here that I remember I saw. It was an image of the Doctor holding Wilfred, and so it got leaked about, and I knew that Bernard Cribbins was apparently going to be there, even when he had died. And David Tennant did say at a convention, I remember as well, to audiences and people at the convention, and it was recorded, where he said Bernard is going to be in the special. And obviously we didn't see him in the first special, and he wasn't shown in any of the trailers, so we kind of were there was a bit of speculation regarding where he was. I think in the trailer as well, there's a little bit where Donna is seeing what goes on at the end of the episode, what's going on with the Earth in terms of destruction going everywhere, and you see a little cap at the top, and that's Wilfred. So a little explanation regarding that particular clip, as I said, that I think is from the gig. That's from the giggle, and the thing is, unfortunately, that was not Bernard Cribbins there. That's kind of why he's not really seen there, because Doctor Unleashed did this segment on Bernard Cribbins, and I'll say this as well: the well, actually, regarding the giggle in terms of the cap sort of thing, apparently that wasn't Bernard Cribbins there, because this moment here in the Wild Blue Yonder was apparently the only scene that they got to film with Bernard. Before then he had to was it he had to be taken off set at some point. I think he was not feeling too well, so he couldn't be available for other scenes to be filmed, but he at least was here, and this bit here was really lovely. Seeing the Doctor hug Wilfred, it was so nice to see that moment there, and that was definitely a really wonderful moment there. It was just so nice, especially as well Wilfred's reaction. Seeing that not only is it the Doctor again, but it's also, not only is Donna okay, she's got her memories back, traveling with the Doctor, but also he's with the Doctor. He's seen the Doctor again, which it's the 14th, but it's the same face. So it's nice that he's seeing the same face again, because the last time we saw Wilfred, he was waving goodbye, and, on the verge of tears, saying goodbye to the 10th Doctor, because he had the idea, and he had the knowledge that he was seeing the last moment with the 10th Doctor, who was going to have his face change. But yeah, you have this bit where it's like Wilfred Mott, and he's like, it's just nice, especially nice as well to the Doctor and Donna because they had a bit of a quite a crazy episode, quite a crazy monster to encounter, and they have this bit here. And whilst I don't know if I cried at this bit, but I did tear up at the Doctor Unleashed episode where the Doctor Unleashed episode on this episode of Wild Blue Yonder got a very emotional moment where you had Bernard, where you had the moment where where it talked about Bernard Cribbins and that they managed to film this, and there was a little bit of a video diary, a little segment of Bernard just talking as he's on set, which is really nice. And I was wondering whether or not he was going to be also there for the giggle, but just to say, he is only in this episode, it seems, and it was only just here that he was available, and the episode paid tribute to Bernard Cribbins as well, and yeah, I think it was really nice, and I think yeah, it's sad that he was only available for one scene, but at least he's here for this scene, and it's such a wonderfully heartwarming scene that I think just represents who Wilfred is, this guy who brings so much joy to people and brings so much joy to both the Doctor and Donna. I mean, this is a guy who the Doctor had said to him that he would be proud if he was his dad, and I think that's like just wonderful. And it's especially nice that he's the person that brings back some joy to the Doctor and Donna before eventually they get pulled back into the action in the giggle. But it's great that Bernard was available for this scene, and I didn't know if he was going to be available for the giggle, but it does seem like he apparently was here for just this bit. And but at least he was available for this bit, so it's just nice that he was there, and also nice that he would be able to have this moment on screen, and that he was able to be seen on screen again because it was a worry if he was going to appear on Doctor Who again, but it's really wonderful that he's there and a nice way for him to be there on screen past his passing away. And I think he'd be very, I think he should, I think, Bernard's family, and I think he would have been very proud to have seen this moment here. And I think, it's just such a wonderful moment, I think, for the final moment of Wilfred. And I think as well with this moment, what I'll say as well is it's just it's a moment that I think just is such a powerful moment as well to see him reappear again, and it was just so nice to see him come back. And to me it was just a moment that he says, the Doctor says now everything is better, which is a really nice moment there as well. And yeah, I think for me it was a really nice moment there. And I think also it is nice that, as I said, he sees the 14th Doctor again. So yeah, for me, this moment here was really nice. As an ending to the episode, it was really nice. And it was nice as well, after the big monster, as I said, they get to see Wilfred again. And it's nice because it fulfills the moment where the Doctor, and Donna would travel in the first place was to see, Wilfred again. They got to see he got to see this face again, and yeah, it was really nice to see that moment again on screen. And it just for me this was such a wonderful moment to see, and I think it was so great. It was really great. I personally really liked it. It's definitely one of the highlights of the episode. It was something simple but just really lovely to watch, and that to me was just such a great bit. And the Doctor Who Unleashed, as I said, did make me tear up because of just seeing Bernard talking about it and being saying he's 93, and I think it was or somewhere in his 90s, and he's still there doing the role of of Wilfred. And yeah, I mean he's a character that everyone loves, and I think it's just great that he wasn't cut out of screen time or anything. He was there at least for a scene. The scene that he got to film was shown, and it's just a terrific moment there. For me personally, it was just one of the highlights of the episode, and I think most will agree. Really lovely tribute to the guy. Really lovely episode, and a nice way for him to be seen for the last time in a way that reminds me of Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, where you got to see where with Heath Ledger it was to show the acting chops, the amazing acting ability he brought, the performance he built, and this is a moment that just reflects who Wilfred is as a character. It just almost reflects him best in terms of someone who is just this heartwarming guy who's this lovely grandfather type character. It's his grandfather who just gets everyone, who just brings joy to everyone, and he brought joy to the Doctor and Donna. And then he's also the one to, I think it's also great that he's the one to kind of set up the episode that comes later on because he's telling the Doctor and Donna everyone's acting strange, everyone's attacking each other, and that's I think really cool as well. I think yeah, overall really lovely bit in the end of the episode. And as for the rest of the episode, as I said, I really enjoyed it. There's some great production with the color as well. It's really cool because you can see here there's a bit of greens here being used about, blues is especially being used about, and you also have a number of other colors like an orangey color and a gray color, which is really cool. So seeing the different colors is really cool as well. And the robot Jimbo, even though you don't really see much of it, is a nice little design as well. I think as a design, it's a cute looking design that kind of reminds me of I've seen a bit of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy robots that Alan Rickman plays in the 2004 film. I don't know what it's called. I haven't really read Hitchhikers, but it looks like Marvin the paranoid android, and I suppose the spaceship in the end could give a kind of Hitchhiker's feel to it. But this kind of reminds me of that Jimbo robot, the white color scheme, the round, cute little design. I think is kind of what gives that idea behind it. That's I think kind of what you get from the robot in this episode. So yeah, I personally I overall had a pretty darn good time. So yeah, overall, as I said, I think overall I had a good time with the Wild Blue Yonder, and I think I'll have to rewatch the episode. I will rewatch the 60th anniversary special, but overall, I thought the episode was nice. It was a unique psychological experimental episode, and it's also one that I think had a great little heartwarming moment with Wilfred as well, which is just a really lovely moment. And I personally, being that's on my birthday weekend as well, that's also really lovely to have and a nice special moment to cherish. I think that I got a Doctor Who episode that was near around my birthday. It's only a day difference, and I'm happy with it. I was very happy with it. It was very, very cool. But now we're going to talk about the giggle, the which I won't show anything really, but the giggle is of course the third episode, which will feature Neil Patrick Harris, who plays the toy maker. Actually, I don't know if I should reveal that, but that's Neil Patrick Harris playing the main villain. It has been hinted at as to who he's playing. But Neil Patrick Harris is playing an iconic Doctor Who villain, and he's playing the main sort of threat in the third episode, The Giggle, an episode that I was interested in terms of what it was going to be about, and of course what was going to happen in terms of how they're going to do what's going to happen next, and of course it was going to be the episode that gives us kind of the last moment of David Tennant's the 14th Doctor. I was going to kind of, say what my expectations are. I have seen the episode, so I know what it's about. But I think when I went into the giggle, and I'll say this for the third episode, I suppose, my expectation is that it's kind of going to be that epic blockbuster feel that Russell T Davies brings to his finales. It's going to be a big, epic sort of finale. And also, it's an episode that I stayed off social media for, which I recommend as well for anyone, because if you go off social media, or at least you don't really see what happens in the giggle, you should be okay, because I think that's the best way to go into the episode, because it's an episode that does give us a lot of surprises. And I'd be very interested to see also, I'm interested in all the target novelizations as well. I suppose with the giggle, my interest comes down to what they add in terms of Neil Patrick Harris as the villain, expand a bit on the history behind that, and also perhaps maybe a bit on what happens within the Doctor and everything. And I don't know, I'll be interested to see what happens. But in terms of the episode, the giggle, the epic blockbuster feels kind of what I'm hoping for, and it's hopefully, and I think an episode that should be one that feels both emotional, resonant, and also exciting in terms of setting up, because obviously the 60th anniversary specials are kind of opening up Shooty Gatwa's appearance as the 15th Doctor, where his first full episode will be on Christmas Day. And that's kind of what you hope for in terms of the episode. And that's kind of what I hope for with The Giggle, an episode that I think hopefully will deliver an episode that for the most part delivers on what it is. And I think, Russ T Davies will say that perhaps some elements will perhaps, annoy some fans. that's fair enough. But also, it's an episode that I went into just, even just watching it and, just thinking, what do I personally think? And I think for me, that's an episode that I will be very interested in, sharing my thoughts on. Even though the Wild Blue Yonder was certainly interesting to take a look at and examine, I think the Gil might be taking more to analyze and overall talk about, not only just for the episode itself, because there's more certain elements that will be up for debate. But I think also it's an episode that, for me, will be one that overall is one that it's an episode that also will be not only talk. I'll not only talk about the episode, but it'll also be the podcast episode. Will be definitely me also talking about the 60th anniversary specials as well, in terms of overall how they were, what did I think of them, and what's my overall feel to them. But as I said, I do like that these are different particular episodes. And also, one thing that I particularly like is that it's not cameo like involved. And I think that's one thing that I think is just obvious, and also especially obvious when it comes around to what we have in today's climate, because obviously today we have superhero films and everything, and they're setting up all these universes, cinematic universes. And also, cameos are known to be something that we do enjoy. So, people enjoy the little cameos and little appearances from characters in certain films, which is nice and all. But I think now it's kind of becoming repetitive. And also, as Phil Collinson, I think the producer, said in SFX magazine, it's kind of become a daily routine. We kind of tend to expect multi-Doctor episodes to happen. We kind of expect, the past Doctors to appear in anniversary episodes. But Stephen Moffat, I think, pointed this out, that it wasn't like, it's not like it's forced to happen. We're not meant to kind of have it. It's just kind of been expected that we get multi-Doctor episodes in anniversary stories, because it's kind of just the norm, how it's been for the past 50 years. And being that it has been for the past 50 years, I think, having something different, it's refreshing to have something different. It's refreshing that we do get something that isn't involving that. And instead, I think with the 6th anniversary specials, I'll talk about this in further detail when I get onto the giggle, but the thing about these episodes is that they are a celebration of Doctor Who in the different ways, with the episodes all feeling like different ways of Doctor Who. So the Star Beast is your typical episode of Doctor Who, alien invasion, the fun alien invasion type story, opens up kind of the story to this new setting and new direction. It's kind of what you get with typical Doctor Who, alien invasion, and also what you get from an opener to Doctor Who, an opener to a new sort of, like, for new beginners and introducing people, reintroducing the show to people, and also being an episode that you don't need to have watched previous episodes perhaps to have really watched. You can, which is what people enjoy about Doctor Who. Some people are just casual viewers that will be like, they can casually get onto Doctor Who again. That's kind of what people like about it. A lot of people like about it. And Wild Blue Yonder is a case of, more so, let's celebrate that experimental side of Doctor Who. Let's give something that not many television shows can do, and also give us something that is an unknown threat, an entity that provides something new and refreshing compared to past monsters returning. And you also have the characters being psychologically developed, and further developing characters and companions, which is something we celebrate from the revival, especially for how they go ahead and bring, they go ahead and give development to companions. Although, what was it, Ace, the last companion of the classic series, kind of had that as well, from what I understand. And then the third episode, the giggle, was like, let's give the big blockbuster epic action excitement that people like about Doctor Who as well. That's kind of what I'm hoping for with the giggle. That's kind of what I hope for in the giggle, that epic blockbuster action feel that gives you that grand scale of an adventure there. It's similar to what the star. It's similar to what I say with the Star Beast and that an alien invasion. But what's different with the giggle is I'm kind of hoping more of a step in terms of, this is not just alien invasion. This is a big epic battle between this powerful force that the Doctor has to stop, and also this emotional aspect to it as well. Can you save everyone? And also, can you save Donna? Can you save everyone in the world? What's going to happen? Well, I'll share my thoughts on the giggle once I get round to it. But as for Wild Blue Yonder, as I said, it's an episode that I've really enjoyed. And as I said, I do like it's not just cameo sessions. I think that personally is more boring than rather exciting, because we'd seen that. And to be fair, we also had Power of the Doctor, which had a lot of cameos and appearances from the past being there because it was the BBC Centenary special as well as Jodie Whittaker's last episode as the 13th Doctor. So we've already had a couple of stories ago, not too long ago, an episode that had a lot of appearances from past monsters and everything, celebrating the past in many ways. So I think if we had Wild Blue Yonder kind of doing that, it would be kind of boring. That's not to say the 60th isn't celebrating the past in some ways. I said the episodes have a way, have a feel to Doctor Who that people expect that is celebrating kind of the different feels that we have with Doctor Who. One's alien invasion, and then the next one we have Wild Blue Yonder is that psychological experimental side that also can do a bottle episode type feel where there's not a massive budget that Doctor Who can usually have. So let's go ahead and just have one location, a spaceship, and let's use the budget on that particular location and tell something that's a bit more ambitious and unique. And in terms of the monster as well, there's a mention of salt as well, which I thought was particularly interesting that the Doctor uses. I can't remember why he uses the salt. It was kind of a case of trying to put logic to these monsters, saying if you put salt around it, you have to count the salt. So you're forced to do that. And that's particularly interesting how he's playing with them. Kind of reminds me of the Seventh Doctor and how people say that he plays around his enemies like a chessboard, pieces on a chessboard. And you also have the storyline involving the spaceship where the captain had to sacrifice himself, which was pretty dark, But the captain sacrificed himself at some point in the spaceship. It's causing a slow timer, a slow destruction, a slow countdown is coming along that's trying to wipe out these monsters, these not things that are mostly hidden actually by the camera, which I quite liked that you have just a camera there, which is mainly thanks, I think, to the direction of the director of the episode, which I'm going to search up who the director is, but the director of the episode was particularly cool because you had the episode's director did a clever trick. Tom Kingsley, there we go. Tom Kingsley did a clever with the direction where you had the direction involving just the direction involved basically just the case of let's for a while they're not things or they were there mostly by it was mostly just the camera following the characters, which I particularly liked. I thought that was pretty darn cool seeing that. I thought it was cool seeing the camera just follow around. It's kind of the Jaws idea of, let's have the monster be there. Let's have the monster kind of let's have the monster just reveal. Let's just have the monster slowly come in. This monster's there, and you're following its point of view, and it's slowly, chasing these characters, which I thought was pretty cool. And the chase bits were pretty exciting and fun when you had the forklift bit where the wheel comes off and then it crashes. That was quite nice. But as I said, it was a fun episode. An episode. Whoops, lady. There we go. Okay, so yeah, as I said, it's an enjoyable episode that wasn't just like fun like the Star Beast. I said it was fun, but it's not just fun like the Star Beast. It's an episode that also was particularly interesting, emotional, I think, in some aspects that provided some emotion, both happy and scary emotions. And it was an episode that I think was much more interesting in terms of what story that was being told. It's an episode that was more interesting in terms of the story compared to the Star Beast. So overall, I'd say I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode, and I'm just happy it was on my birthday. And to be honest, yeah, I think that's mostly what I can say about the Wild Blue Yonder before, constantly repeating over and over again my points. And so for now, I think for the most part, I'm going to wrap up the episode. Actually, one thing I will say is that she mentioned Gallifrey was one bit that was in one of the trailers where they had in the 60th anniversary special these glitch trailers playing throughout BBC One where the clips were in reverse, the audio was in reverse. And there was one clip they had where it was the Doctor and Donna seeing the TARDIS being on fire. We didn't know what it was originally. And the Doctor in reverse, it says she mentioned Gallifrey. And you're wondering who that is. Of course, he's referring to. And then it turns out he's referring to the not thing Donna mentioning Gallifrey. I believe that's what it is, which is particularly cool and interesting. And that's, I think, really cool to see that. That was a cool that was an interesting way of having it be mentioned. That was quite cool. That was quite nice seeing that. Um, and yeah, it was cool seeing. It was interesting because you don't know what the reveal is, and it being the not thing was kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting seeing what it is. That the not thing talks about Gallifrey, but it's not just that. It does actually mention the timeless child, which I was like, Okay, they mentioned that. Wow, it's interesting. But it's not mentioned like massively, but it's also not like thrown away suddenly. It's with the timeless children and the flux that it's added in towards the storyline of the Doctor and kind of the guilt that he has over they have over the flux, and also that sense of not really knowing who they are. The Doctor does say, I don't know who I am anymore. And in a way, now you could actually almost theorize that being not just referring to the Doctor having an old face, but also that the Doctor is has the past suddenly not really being known to them anymore. They originally think they're a child of Gallifrey. They're not. They're from another world. They're a bit even more of an outsider than they originally were when they were on Gallifrey. So it's interesting seeing that approach. I think that was interesting seeing that. And as I said, the psychological aspect that reminds me of Midnight was really nice. It was great that it had that psychological aspect of Midnight, as well as also the unknown entity that reminds me of the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And yep, overall, I really enjoyed what was going on, and I will let you know my thoughts on the giggle in the next episode. But for now, I'm going to wrap up this particular episode. All I'll say is now, thank you very much for listening and watching, or listening or watching the Chillaxin and Chit Chatting podcast. Remember to give a like, and also you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also at the end of the credits, there will also be a playlist for the rest of the episodes. I also have a playlist, and hopefully may do more bits on my episodes where I'll do segments on my podcast. Maybe not for this episode or the 60th anniversary episodes, but I'll hopefully do more segments that are part of episodes of my podcast, where I take a segment of an episode of my podcast and put that in as a separate video to get people to know about my podcast. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I also hope that you let me know what you think of the Wild Blue Yonder. And you can also check out my video on the Star Beast and let me know your thoughts on the Star Beast. And all I'll say now is I hope you enjoyed this episode, and get ready for the next episode when I talk about the giggle. I'll hopefully wear maybe this aesthetic for the giggle as well, the 10th Doctor costume. So all I'll say now is remember to stay chillaxin, and always remember to keep chit-chatting. Thank you for watching or listening.